Did you enjoy the set?
Yeah, I did. We had one or two problems. Yeah, they seemed nice audience.
Yeah, nice audience.
Yeah. I had a bit of trouble getting back to the stage when I went out, I think.
Wir haben jetzt bei uns hier im Studio Peter Gabriel, der vor 10 Minuten aufgetreten hat. There's a lot of interesting things, Peter, about your stage show that other people don't do. I mean, for instance, you go actually into the crowd and you talk with people. You even allow them at times, I've seen you in the past, allow them to sing into your microphone. Yeah. And I was wondering whether that's sometimes a little dangerous to do something like that.
Yeah, it's an important thing to me just to get as close as possible to the audience, and there is a considerable distance, I think, between the stage and the audience, and sometimes with some artists, when you see them night after night, it looks almost as if you're watching a film. And the thing I like about actually going into the audience is that no one knows what's going to happen. Either I may get welcomed, or it's happened recently in Bremen, people may not want me there at all, but whatever happens is something that is totally unrehearsed. And it's just thanks to the invention of the radio microphone that I'm able to do it, and it's great.
Do you find what you're doing now, though, in that sense, is very different to what you were doing with Genesis, where you had lots of masks on, and there was very much of a distinction between what you were doing on stage and the audience watching you? Erzähl gerade, dass mit Soft Machine gespielt. Das kann auch möglich sein, vor 20 Jahren oder so. Und ich habe ihn gefragt, wenn mit Genesis gespielt hat. Ich glaube, das war wirklich Genesis.
Yeah, I think so. Then.
Kann ich das zu Ende machen?
Yeah, sorry.
Wenn mit Genesis gespielt hat, das war eine ganz andere Sache. Er hat dann diese Masken angehabt und der war eigentlich ein ganz großes Loch immer zwischen Genesis und das Publikum. Das war richtig eine Bühnenschau, was er da gemacht hat. Jetzt ist das nicht so.
Yeah, I think the difference there was that we were trying to illustrate stories, and I introduced masks and quite a lot of visual things, which, having left, I then wanted to separate myself from. And initially I wanted to get out of the business. I didn't leave for a solo career. It was about 4.5 years ago now that I left. And after about 1.5 years, I decided to get back involved. And I wanted to try and build things up as a new artist based on the music, not on lasers and spaceships and such like.
Do you find what you're doing now, therefore, is very, very different to what you were doing before? Did you consciously decide that you didn't want anymore to do what Genesis were doing? Ob was jetzt macht, ganz anders von Genesis, weil hat das so überlegt, ich will jetzt etwas anderes machen. Ich bin bekannt geworden durch Genesis, jetzt muss ich etwas anderes machen. Jetzt muss ich etwas anderes beweisen.
I think initially I made a conscious decision to try and get away from sort of the arrangements that were associated with Genesis, in that the sound of the arrangements was as important as the songs themselves. And for me now, I'm trying to make it more simple, more direct, and the emphasis is on the songs.
Albrecht, I think you had a question you wanted to put to.
Peter, when we saw you last week in Berlin, you included in your set a punk version of A Wider Shade of Pale, and which I think is fair to say took everybody by surprise. And
yeah,
what's the idea behind that?
Well, it just appealed to my sense of humor, but unfortunately it doesn't appeal to everyone's sense of humor, and some people have hated it. I think that people are a little confused what the motive is, whether it's a parody, whether I'm an old man clutching at my youth, or quite why I'm doing it. But we have a lot of fun at that point. So.
Also das sind anscheinend zwei Auffassungen von Humor aufeinander geprallt ist. Peter Gabriel meint, diese Version von A Wider Shade of Pale sei seine Art von Humor. Andere Leute haben das nicht so verstanden. Now, two very simple questions. Yesterday at the soundcheck, a young guy asked me, why do you wear that red thing in your set?
Well, I like the look of it, very simply. Also, we were just starting the tour, and I wanted to buy something that we could wear. And the first shop that I looked in was a bicycle, and working man's shop, and these things looked interesting.
My second simple question is, you shaved your head some weeks ago,
Yeah.
right? Is that a special reason?
Yep, well, I just like to expose my scalp, and I can hear the raindrops falling on my head.
It's a very nice idea. Ich habe ihn gefragt, warum er sich den Kopf rasiert hat, und er hat es gemacht, um die Regentropfen so richtig auf seinen Kopf aufklatschen zu hören. Hast du noch Fragen?
Ja, eigentlich, wenn der Sid jetzt bereit ist, wir können Sid vielleicht gleich hier raus.
Nee, Sid kommt nicht hier.
Er kommt nicht.
Nein, Sid kommt nicht.
The usual.
Ja, perhaps we can ask, vielleicht können wir diese Frage stellen mit der Punkmusik.
Yeah, Alresh asked you this question about playing a wider shade of pale. Obviously, it's a question that a lot of groups who've been playing music over the last 10 years have been asked, but the effect that punk music had on your own music, whether that made you see your own music differently, ob Punkmusik hat irgendwie ihn beeindruckt, etwas anderes zu machen.
I think it was very important for each generation to have its own identity and its own music, and I like the energy of it. And I think in just terms of pure energy, it is a sort of focal point for anything else to be compared to. But I don't really feel that it's had a tremendous influence other than providing me with the idea for a new version of White Shade of Pale.
Do you think in the future, I mean, you're going to incorporate songs from other people, not necessarily as punk versions? I mean, you do a Genesis number, but do you see you doing numbers from other people just for fun? Ich habe ihn gefragt, ob in Zukunft etwas anderes machen will. Zum Beispiel, weil er hat White Shade of Pale gespielt, vielleicht eine Nummer von einer anderen Gruppe auch in dein Set reinbringen.
Yeah, a couple of tours back I was doing a version of, I heard it through the grapevine with the synthesizer and sequences and things, and Ain't That Peculiar. So I like to do an All Day and All of the Night, that was another. One or two maybe each tour, just because often they're contrast to my own style of writing, and so it can be a lot of fun to play.
Sagt, dass auf jeder Tournee eigentlich will ein paar neue Nummern haben. Hat vor 2 Jahren I Heard It Through the Grapevine gespielt und All of the Day and All of the Night gespielt. Und meint, dass das bringt einen guten Kontrast zu der Musik, dass mit seiner Gruppe macht. Und das ist eine gute Idee für die Zukunft, so weiterzumachen. Auf jeder Tournee eine neue Nummer. Bestimmt nicht eine Punknummer auf die nächste Tournee. Have you got any ideas what you're going to be playing on the next tour?
I'm not sure. Just see what happens.
Weiß nicht genau, was auf die nächste Tournee kommt, aber wir müssen abwarten und sehen. How do you feel generally about performing in front of a German crowd? I'm thinking again, when you go out front with a microphone and they're going to say things to you that maybe you're not going to understand, is that sometimes a difficult moment for you? Ob das schwer ist, wenn er zum Beispiel vor ein deutsches Publikum spielt, läuft durch das Publikum und die sagen etwas zu ihm ins Mikrofon, der versteht das nicht.
I think the most extreme good and bad words I have an understanding. Perhaps I better not give examples.
Well, feel free.
Scheiße was one. And yes, there are other comments and criticisms thrown at me from the audience, but some of them are good.
Does it worry you?
No, I like it because, well, I don't always like it if it's hostile, but I think it's good to involve the audience.